The signal came from the third planet of a small yellow star. It was weak and simple, just basic radio waves carrying mathematics and pictures. Counselor Thrick studied the transmission with his crystalline form, shimmering in different colors, as he processed the data. Another primitive species, he said to Elder Nix, whose ethereal body floated beside him. They call themselves humans, and their world Earth. Elder Nix's form pulsed with soft light. What do our scouts report? The planet appears peaceful. Blue oceans, green continents, no visible weapons from orbit. They seem to have basic technology, but nothing dangerous. Thrix's form shifted to a calm blue color. They request contact with what they call the Galactic Council. The council chambers buzzed with quiet conversation. Representatives from dozens of species floated, sat, or hovered in their designated areas. War had been extinct in the galaxy for over 3,000 years. Every species that joined the council was peaceful by nature or had evolved beyond violence long ago. Should we send the standard first contact team? Asked Representative Corval of the Zentari, his tentacles waving slowly. Yes, Elder Nix replied, but let us be careful. New species sometimes have unexpected reactions to contact. 3 days later, the council ship Harmony arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. Ambassador Hyunki stood on the bridge watching the blue planet grow larger on the screens. He was tall for a human, with neat black hair and calm eyes. Beside him, Dr. Sora checked her instruments, while Communications Officer Tai Min prepared the translation systems. Beautiful world, Sora said softly. Very similar to the homeworlds of many council species. Hyunki nodded. Send the standard greeting. Let them know we come in peace. The response came quickly. A clear voice spoke in what the translators identified as English, one of Earth's major languages. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Boram of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome you to our system. Please state your intentions. Taman looked surprised. Earth Defense Force? They have some kind of military organization. Most species do when they first achieve spaceflight, Hyunki said calmly. It's natural to be protective of your homeworld. Send our standard response. The conversation that followed was polite and careful. Captain Boram spoke for something called the United Earth Government. She explained that Earth had been listening to radio signals from space for decades and had prepared for this moment. They requested formal contact with galactic civilization. They seem very organized, Sora observed. Most species are confused or frightened during first contact. That's encouraging, Hyunki replied. Perhaps they'll adapt to galactic society quickly. Over the next week, the humans provided information about their world and culture. They described Earth as a peaceful planet where different nations had united under one government. They showed pictures of beautiful cities, advanced technology, and smiling people. Their leader, President Kim Soo, sent warm greetings to the Galactic Council. Colonel Jin Ho watched the alien ship from Earth's hidden orbital command center. His screen showed not just the Council vessel, but also the positions of Earth's concealed defense platforms, cloaked patrol ships, and weapon satellites. Everything was powered down and invisible to alien sensors. They're buying it completely, reported Major Hai Jin from the Intelligence Center. Their scans show exactly what we want them to see. Peaceful cities, basic technology, no military installations. Jin Ho smiled grimly. Good. How are our people doing on the diplomatic front? Ambassador Hyunki is following the script perfectly. The aliens think we're just another peaceful species looking to join their little club. The truth was very different. Earth's governments had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. Every military installation was hidden underground or cloaked. All weapons were disguised or concealed. The beautiful cities the aliens saw were real, but they couldn't detect the massive bunkers beneath them or the defense systems built into every structure. Dr. Yejin, working in a laboratory that appeared to be studying alien biology for peaceful purposes, was actually analyzing the Council species for potential weaknesses. The crystalline Velkari appeared fragile to certain frequencies. The Morvani's energy forms might be disrupted by electromagnetic pulses. All data went into Earth's military databases. Their ship is impressive, reported Captain Minho from his position on what appeared to be a simple cargo vessel. In reality, his ship was packed with weapons and sensors, gathering intelligence on alien technology. But their shields are weak. Their weapons are almost non-existent. Of course they are, Jinho replied over the encrypted channel. These species haven't fought a war in thousands of years. They've forgotten how. Back on the Harmony, Counselor Thrix was pleased with the humans' progress. They're adapting well to our technology gifts. Their translation systems are improving rapidly. Elder Nix agreed. They seem genuinely peaceful. No aggressive tendencies detected. Their military force appears to be purely defensive. What they didn't know was that every piece of technology they shared was immediately copied, studied, and improved by Earth's hidden research facilities. Teams of scientists worked around the clock to understand alien science and find ways to surpass it. Ambassador Hyun-ki met with the Council representatives in person for the first time on a neutral space station. He was charming and intelligent, speaking passionately about humanity's desire for peace and cooperation. Earth has had conflicts in the past, he admitted when asked about human history, but we've learned from our mistakes. We've united as one people with one goal: to live in harmony with the universe. He wasn't lying, exactly. Earth had united, but not for peace. They had united for survival. Every major government had agreed that when aliens finally arrived, humanity needed to appear harmless until they understood what they were dealing with. We would be honored to join the Galactic Council, Hyun-ki continued. We have much to learn from your advanced civilizations. The aliens were delighted. Here was a young species that understood the value of peace and cooperation. They voted unanimously to grant Earth provisional membership in the Council. As the ceremony concluded and trade agreements were signed, Thrix commented to Elder Nix, "Another successful integration. These humans will make excellent council members." Elder Nix's form pulsed with satisfaction. Indeed, they seem to understand that violence has no place in a civilized galaxy. Neither of them noticed the small device hidden in Ambassador Hyun-ki's ceremonial robes, recording everything and transmitting the data back to Earth through encrypted quantum channels. On Earth, President Kim Soo addressed the secret military council. Phase 1 is complete. They've accepted us as a peaceful species. Now we begin Phase 2, learning everything we can about their capabilities while maintaining our cover. General Dongmin nodded. Our analysis teams are already at work. Their technology is advanced, but their military thinking is thousands of years out of date. If it comes to conflict, it won't. President Kim Soo interrupted. As long as we control the narrative, they'll never know what we really are. But in the depths of space, certain other species had been watching the proceedings with interest. The Zarathi Empire, conquerors from the Outer Rim, had also detected Earth's first transmissions. Unlike the peaceful council species, they understood the signs of a warrior race trying to hide its nature. The game was about to become much more complicated. 6 months after first contact, trade began flowing between Earth and the Galactic Council. Captain Sung-ho guided his cargo ship through the busy space lanes around Kepler 7, the neutral trading station where humans had established their first permanent outpost. To alien observers, the ship looked like a simple freight hauler. Its hull was plain metal, its engines were basic fusion drives, and its cargo holds were filled with Earth's exports: art, music, literature, and basic manufactured goods. What the aliens couldn't see were the hidden weapon ports, the advanced sensors disguised as communication arrays, and the fact that the entire ship could transform into a warship in less than 30 seconds. Another day, another peaceful trade. Run, Sung-ho said to his crew, speaking loudly enough for the alien monitoring systems to record. His real message was sent through encrypted channels to Dr. Yejin's research station on the other side of the system. Dr. Yejin had been studying alien biology for months now, supposedly to help with medical exchanges and cultural understanding. Her laboratory was filled with samples and data from dozens of council species. But her real work was creating detailed files on every alien race's weaknesses, immune systems, and biological vulnerabilities. The information went straight to Earth's Biological Warfare Division. The Velkari are fascinating, she reported to her alien colleagues during a joint research meeting. Their crystalline structure is so elegant. What she didn't mention was that she had discovered their crystalline forms could be shattered by specific sound frequencies, and she was already designing weapons to exploit this weakness. Trade was booming, but the humans were always watching, always learning. Every alien ship that docked at their stations was scanned completely. Every piece of technology was analyzed. Every conversation was recorded and studied. The first crack in the facade appeared on a Tuesday. Captain Minho was hauling medical supplies to the Zentari homeworld when his ship's sensors detected 3 vessels approaching fast. Pirates were common in this sector, preying on the peaceful council species who rarely defended themselves effectively. "Unknown vessel, prepare to be boarded," came the transmission from the lead pirate ship. "Surrender your cargo and you will not be harmed." Minho looked at his crew. Communications Officer Nari was already tracking the pirates' approach vectors. Weapons Officer Tae-Wan had his hand hovering over controls that were hidden beneath what appeared to be navigation panels. "What's the standard council response to pirates?" Minho asked quietly. "Call for help and hope someone arrives in time," Nari replied. "Or surrender and file an insurance claim." Minho smiled coldly. "And what's the human response?" "Eliminate the threat," Tae-Wan said, activating the hidden weapon systems. The alien observers monitoring the area expected to see another routine pirate attack. Council species usually ran away or called for help. Sometimes they surrendered immediately to avoid damage. Instead, they watched in shock as the human cargo ship suddenly bristled with weapons that hadn't been there seconds before. Advanced energy cannons emerged from concealed ports. Missile launchers unfolded from what had appeared to be empty hull sections. The ship's engines flared with power that far exceeded anything a simple freighter should possess. The battle lasted 18 seconds. The lead pirate ship disintegrated under focused plasma fire. The second ship tried to flee but was caught by missiles that moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. The third ship managed to send a distress signal before it too was reduced to debris. When Council security forces arrived 20 minutes later, they found Captain Minho calmly transferring the pirates' cargo to his own holds. "The pirates attacked us," he explained to the Velkari security chief. "We defended ourselves." "With what weapons?" the security chief asked, his crystalline form shifting to confused orange colors. "Our sensors show your ship is a standard cargo hauler." Minho gestured to his ship, which once again looked completely harmless. All weapons had retracted and hidden themselves. "We installed some basic defensive systems after the trade routes opened, purely for protection, you understand." The security chief was baffled. His sensors detected no weapons at all, but the debris field around them told a very different story. 3 pirate ships had been destroyed by weapons more advanced than anything the Council possessed. News of the incident spread quickly through Council space. Other species began asking questions. How had a primitive human cargo ship defeated 3 pirate vessels so easily? What kind of defensive systems could destroy ships that quickly? Councillor Thrix called an emergency meeting with Ambassador Hyunki. "We need to discuss this incident," Thrix said, his form flickering between orange confusion and red concern. "Our analysis of the wreckage shows weapon signatures we don't recognize." Hyunki remained calm. "I'm sorry if our defensive measures were more effective than expected. Earth takes the safety of our traders very seriously." "These weren't defensive measures," Elder Nix interjected, her energy form pulsing with agitation. "The weapons used were military grade, far beyond anything a cargo ship should carry." "We're a young species," Hyunki replied. "Perhaps our definitions of defensive and offensive weapons are different from yours. We simply want to protect our people." But the aliens were no longer convinced. Surveillance Officer Nari, working undercover as a cultural attaché, reported that Council intelligence services were beginning to investigate human activities more closely. "They're asking questions about our ship designs," she transmitted to Earth through encrypted channels. "They want to inspect our cargo vessels for hidden weapons." General Dongmin received the report with satisfaction rather than concern. "Good. It was inevitable that they would eventually notice we're not as helpless as we pretend to be." "Should," We reveal more of our capabilities? Asked Admiral Haiwan. Not yet, President Kimsu decided. Let them think they've discovered our secret. Let them believe that hidden weapons on cargo ships are the extent of our deception. The truth was far more complex. Every human ship in Council space was a potential warship. But that was just the beginning. Earth's real military was still completely hidden. The orbital defense platforms, the cloaked patrol fleets, the planet-killing weapons. None of that had been detected. Back on Kepler 7, Captain Seung-ho met with his alien trading partners. They were nervous now, asking careful questions about human technology and defensive capabilities. We're just trying to protect ourselves, he assured them. Earth has always been a peaceful world, but we've learned that peace must sometimes be defended. The Zentari merchant Korval waved his tentacles uncertainly. Your defensive systems seem very advanced for a peaceful species. We're fast learners, Seung-ho replied with a smile. When you've been listening to space radio for decades before making contact, you hear about pirates and conflicts. We wanted to be prepared. It was a reasonable explanation, and the aliens wanted to believe it. The alternative, that humanity had been systematically deceiving them from the beginning, was too disturbing to consider seriously. But in the outer rim of the galaxy, the Zarathi Empire was watching these developments with great interest. Unlike the peaceful council species, the Zarathi understood warfare. They recognized the signs of a species that knew how to fight. These humans are not what they seem, reported Commander Vex to the Zarathi High Command. They carry hidden weapons and know how to use them effectively. Are they a threat? Asked the Supreme War Leader. Unknown, but they are definitely not the peaceful species they pretend to be. The Zarathi began making their own plans. They had been planning to attack Council space for years, waiting for the right moment. The appearance of a potentially dangerous new species changed their calculations. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sora was analyzing all the data from the pirate encounter. The aliens' reaction was fascinating, she reported to the military council. They have no concept of hidden weapons or deceptive ship design. They think in terms of pure transparency. That's their weakness, Colonel Jinho observed. They've been peaceful for so long, they've forgotten how to think like warriors. The question is, President Kimsu said thoughtfully, how long can we maintain this deception? And what happens when they finally discover the truth? None of them knew that the answer to that question was approaching faster than they expected. The Zarathi Empire was already mobilizing its fleets, and when they struck, humanity would be forced to reveal exactly what kind of species had been hiding among the peaceful stars. The confrontation came without warning. Elder Nyx materialized in the council chambers with an urgency that made her energy form pulse with bright, angry light. Counselor Thrix's crystalline body shifted to deep red as he processed the data she presented. The humans have been lying to us, Nyx announced to the assembled representatives. Systematically, about everything. Ambassador Hyun Ki sat calmly in the human delegation area, his face showing polite confusion. Beside him, Dr. Sora maintained her composed expression, while Communications Officer Tae Min prepared for the worst. I'm afraid I don't understand, Hyun Ki said. What exactly are you accusing us of? Thrix's form flickered through angry colors as he activated the chamber's main display. Our deep space monitoring stations have been analyzing your homeworld more carefully. What we discovered is disturbing. The display showed Earth from orbit, but this time the images were different. Advanced sensors had penetrated the camouflage that had hidden humanity's true nature for almost a year. Instead of peaceful cities and basic technology, the aliens now saw the reality. Massive orbital platforms bristled with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The moon itself was revealed to be a fortress, its surface covered with cannon installations that defied imagination. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt showed construction projects on a scale that dwarfed anything in Council space. These installations, Nyx said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber, appear to be military in nature. Weapons platforms, defense systems, ship construction facilities of enormous scale. The alien representatives stared in shock. The peaceful species they had welcomed into their community had been hiding a military infrastructure that surpassed anything in the known galaxy. There must be some mistake, Hyun-Ki said, but his voice lacked conviction. The evidence was too clear to deny. Show them the rest, Thrix commanded. More images appeared. Cities that had seemed purely civilian revealed hidden launch bays and weapon emplacements. Beautiful parks contained concealed missile silos. Even civilian spacecraft showed signs of hidden military modifications. Representative Corval's tentacles writhed in distress. How is this possible? Our sensors showed none of this during first contact. Dr. Sora finally spoke, her voice quiet, but clear. Because we didn't want you to see it. The admission sent shockwaves through the chamber. For the first time in millennia, a species had deliberately deceived the Galactic Council. Why? Elder Nix demanded. Why hide your true nature? Hyun-Ki stood slowly, his diplomatic mask finally dropping. Because we needed to understand what we were dealing with. We needed to know if the galaxy was truly peaceful, or if you were simply unprepared for war. War? Thrix's crystalline form turned a color the translator couldn't identify. What is this concept of war? Dr. Sora activated her personal datapad. Perhaps it's time you learned about human history. What followed was the most horrifying presentation the Galactic Council had ever witnessed. Images of human conflicts, spanning thousands of years, filled the chamber's displays. Ancient battles with swords and spears, medieval sieges that lasted for years, industrial wars that consumed entire continents, nuclear weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. This is impossible, whispered a Morvani representative. Intelligent species don't engage in organized violence against their own kind. Humans do, Sora replied calmly. We've been fighting wars for our entire recorded history. We've turned conflict into art, science, and philosophy. We study war the way you study poetry. The aliens watched in mounting horror as the presentation continued. Tactical nuclear weapons, biological warfare, chemical attacks, orbital bombardments, weapons designed specifically to kill other intelligent beings in the most efficient ways possible. You're monsters, someone whispered from the back of the chamber. No, Hyun-Ki said firmly. We're survivors. Every species we've encountered claims to be peaceful, but you're peaceful because you've never faced a real threat. When you encounter something truly dangerous, your lack of military knowledge will destroy you. As if summoned by his words, alarms began blaring throughout. The station, emergency broadcasts filled the communication channels as council monitoring stations reported massive fleet movements in the outer rim. Zarathi Empire vessels detected, announced the station's AI. Multiple battle fleets approaching Council. Space. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. The chamber erupted in panic. The Zarathi were legendary in Council space, an aggressive empire that had conquered dozens of systems in the outer galaxy, but they had never attacked the Council directly. Until now. This is perfect timing, Elder Nix said, her form pulsing with fear and anger. The Zarathi attack just as we discover humanity's deception. Are you working with them? We've never had contact with the Zarathi, Hyun-Ki replied. But if they're coming here, you're going to need our help. Help from species that lies about everything, Thrix demanded. Help from the only species in this galaxy that remembers how to fight. On Earth, emergency sessions were already in progress. President Kim-Soo addressed the secret military council as reports poured in from across the galaxy. The Zarathi are moving with over 5,000 ships. The council has maybe 300 vessels, none of them designed for combat. General Dongmin pulled up tactical displays. It's not even going to be a fight. The council species have no concept of military strategy. They'll be massacred. Do we intervene? Asked Admiral Haiwan. That depends, President Kim-Soo said thoughtfully, on whether we want to reveal our true capabilities. The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Boram, monitoring communications from the hidden orbital command center, reported that the Zarathi had sent a message to Earth directly. They're offering us an alliance, she said. They want us to join them in conquering council space. They claim they recognized us as a warrior species from the beginning. The room fell silent. Here was the test humanity had been preparing for since first contact. Would they side with fellow warriors against the peaceful species who had welcomed them? Or would they protect the innocent, even if it meant revealing the full extent of their military power? "What are our options?" General Dongmin asked. Admiral Haiwan activated the strategic displays. "If we deploy our full military capability, we can probably defeat the Zarathi, but it will require revealing everything. The orbital platforms, the hidden fleets, the planet-killer weapons. The aliens will know exactly what we are. And if we don't intervene, the Council will be destroyed or enslaved. Billions of peaceful beings will die." President Kim Soo looked around the room at Earth's military leadership. These were people who had spent their entire careers preparing for interstellar war. They understood better than anyone what humanity was capable of. "There's really no choice," she said finally. "We swore to protect our own interests, but we also swore to protect innocent life when possible. The Council species may be naive, but they're not evil." Back on the Council station, Ambassador Hyun-ki received the encrypted transmission from Earth. His orders were clear and simple. Offer humanity's full military assistance to the Galactic Council. "We will help you," he announced to the stunned alien representatives. "But you need to understand what that means. When humans go to war, we don't hold back. We don't fight with honor or restraint. We fight to win, completely and permanently." Elder Nix's form flickered with desperate hope. "What can you do against 5,000 Zarathi warships?" Hyun-ki smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We can show you why every intelligent species in the universe should be terrified of the day humans actually decide to go to war." He activated his communicator and sent a single coded message to Earth. "Operation Revelation authorized. Deploy all assets." Across human space, military installations that had been hidden for decades began powering up. Cloaked ships decloaked and began moving toward Council space. Weapons that had never been tested in actual combat were loaded and armed. The galaxy was about to discover what humanity had really been hiding among the peaceful stars. The Zarathi Empire arrived at the edge of Council space with overwhelming force. Commander Vex watched from the bridge of his flagship as 5,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. For 300 years, the Zarathi had conquered every species they encountered. Today would be no different. "Scan the system," Vex ordered. "Show me their pathetic defenses." The tactical display revealed exactly what he expected. 300 Council ships were scattered across the system in a defensive formation that any military academy student would recognize as useless. The vessels themselves were barely armed, designed for exploration and trade rather than combat. "This will be over in hours," his weapons officer reported. "Their ships are no match for ours." What the Zarathi didn't see were the 3,000 human ships hiding in the outer system, completely cloaked and powered down. What they didn't detect were the weapon platforms that had been secretly deployed throughout Council space over the past year, disguised as communication relays and trade stations. On the Council command ship, Counselor Thrix was in full panic mode. His crystalline form shifted rapidly between colors of fear and desperation. "Our forces are hopelessly outmatched. We should surrender and hope for mercy." "The Zarathi don't show mercy," Elder Nix replied, her energy form pulsing with grim certainty. "They conquer or destroy. There is no middle ground." Admiral Haiwan materialized on the Council bridge via hologram, her expression calm and professional. Behind her, aliens could see what appeared to be a standard human command center. They had no idea they were looking at the nerve center of the most advanced military force in the galaxy. "Council ships will withdraw to minimum safe distance," she announced without preamble. "Human forces are taking control of this engagement." "What human forces?" Thrix demanded. "You have maybe 50 ships in this system." Admiral Haiwan smiled coldly. "We have more than that." The first indication that something had changed came when the Zarathi scanners suddenly detected massive energy signatures throughout the system. Ships began appearing from nowhere, decloaking in perfect battle formation. But these weren't the simple cargo vessels and exploration ships the aliens had seen before. Commander Vex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The human ships were massive, bristling with weapons that his computers couldn't even classify. Their energy signatures were off the charts. Their formation was military perfect, suggesting a level of tactical sophistication the Zarathi had never encountered. "How many ships?" he demanded. 3,000, sir. And counting. More are still decloaking." "That's impossible." Intelligence. Reports showed the humans had maybe 100 vessels total. His communications officer looked up with confusion. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship." Commander Wu Jin appeared on the main screen, wearing a military uniform that was both elegant and intimidating. Behind him, the bridge of his ship hummed with activity as dozens of officers coordinated what was obviously a well-planned military operation. "Zarathi forces," Wu Jin said in perfect Zarathi language. "You are ordered to withdraw from Council space immediately. This is your only warning." Vex laughed harshly. "You're outnumbered almost 2-to-1, human. Your ships may be larger than expected, but numbers will tell in the end." "Numbers," Wu Jin repeated thoughtfully. "Yes, let's talk about numbers." Across the system, hidden weapon platforms suddenly activated. What the Zarathi had thought were communication relays and trade stations revealed themselves to be massive military installations. Gun platforms that could destroy capital ships with single shots. Missile batteries that launched thousands of warheads simultaneously. Defense networks that turned empty space into killing fields. "Correction," Wu Jin continued, as the Zarathi scanners went wild trying to track all the new threats. "You are now outnumbered approximately 10-to-1. Would you like to reconsider withdrawal?" Commander Vex felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: fear. The humans hadn't just hidden their military capabilities. They had been building a secret defense network throughout Council space while pretending to be peaceful traders. "Attack," he ordered. "All ships, attack the human fleet." The Zarathi charged forward with the fury that had conquered half the outer rim. Their ships were fast, their weapons were powerful, and their tactics had proven successful against dozens of species. It didn't matter. Major Hae-Young watched the Zarathi attack from her position aboard the human battleship Determination. "They're using standard pack hunting tactics," she reported to the fleet commander. "Aggressive frontal assault with flanking maneuvers. Very predictable." "Implement response pattern." 7, Commander Wu Jin ordered calmly. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. If any Zarathi survived to build academies, the human fleet didn't just fight back. They fought with a level of coordination and tactical sophistication that turned the battle into a demonstration rather than a conflict. Zarathi ships found themselves caught in crossfires from multiple directions as human vessels moved with precision that seemed impossible. Human weapons didn't just destroy enemy ships, they targeted specific systems with surgical accuracy, disabling engines and weapons while leaving life support intact, when possible. Captain Youngsik commanded a squadron of human destroyers that moved through the Zarathi formation like sharks through a school of fish. His ships communicated through quantum-encrypted channels, coordinating their attacks with split-second timing. "Target the command vessel's weapon systems," he ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. We want prisoners for intelligence purposes." The Zarathi flagship shuddered under precise plasma strikes that took out every weapon without breaching the main hull. Commander Vex found himself helpless, watching his fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy that fought with terrifying efficiency. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "No species fights like this." His tactical officer was studying the human attack patterns with growing horror. "Sir, they're not just winning, they're teaching us. Every move they make is designed to show us how outclassed we are." It was true. The humans weren't just destroying the Zarathi fleet. They were demonstrating their complete mastery of warfare. Ships were disabled rather than destroyed when possible, showing mercy that was somehow more terrifying than brutality. The message was clear: we can end this whenever we choose. On the Council observation ships, alien representatives watched in stunned silence as their new human allies systematically demolished a force that should have been unstoppable. This level of military coordination, Elder Nix whispered, her energy form dim with shock, requires centuries of development. How long have they been preparing for this? Dr. Sora, monitoring the battle from the human command ship, answered through the communication link. We've been preparing for interstellar war since before we made contact with you. Every human child learns basic military tactics in school. Every civilian ship is designed with combat modifications in mind. Every city on Earth is part of our planetary defense network. Counselor Thrix's crystalline form had gone completely transparent with fear. Your entire civilization is built around warfare. No, Sora corrected. Our entire civilization is built around survival. We fight when we must, but we prefer to avoid conflict through superior preparation. The battle was over in 47 minutes. Of the 5,000 Zarathi ships that had attacked Council space, fewer than 200 remained operational. The rest were disabled, destroyed, or fleeing at maximum speed toward the outer rim. Commander Vex found himself aboard a human ship, a prisoner along with thousands of other Zarathi survivors. Commander Wu Jin visited him personally in the detention area. Your species has a choice, Wu Jin said simply. Withdraw to your original territory and cease all aggressive expansion, or we will demonstrate what human weapons are capable of when we stop holding back. Holding back? Vex stared at the human officer. That was you holding back. What you just experienced was a police action using conventional weapons. If you force us to actually go to war, you'll discover that we haven't shown you our real military capabilities yet. Vex thought about the precision, the coordination, the overwhelming technological superiority he had just witnessed. The idea that this was the humans holding back was more terrifying than any threat he could imagine. What do you want? He asked, quietly. Peace, Wu Jin replied. We want to live in a galaxy where species can trade and explore without fear of conquest. If that means we have to enforce peace through superior firepower, then that's what we'll do. As the human fleet began the process of escorting Zarathi survivors back to their territory, news of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. The peaceful, Council species had been saved by their newest members, who had turned out to be the most formidable military force anyone had ever encountered. The age of galactic peace would continue, but now everyone understood exactly who was responsible for maintaining it. 3 months after the Zarathi defeat, the galaxy had settled into an uneasy new normal. The Galactic Council met in emergency session to address what everyone now called the human question. The chambers were fuller than usual, with representatives from species that had never bothered with council politics before, suddenly very interested in galactic affairs. Counselor Thrix stood at the center of the assembly, his crystalline form a steady blue that indicated careful thought. The surrender documents have been signed, he announced. The Zarathi Empire has agreed to return all conquered territories and limit their expansion to their original systems. Elder. Nix floated beside him, her energy form pulsing with residual anxiety. The question before us now is what to do about our human allies. Ambassador Hyun Ki sat in the human delegation area, flanked by Admiral Hyewan and Dr. Sora. The mood around them was different now. Where once there had been friendly curiosity from other species, now there was a mixture of respect, fear, and barely concealed terror. The humans saved us, pointed out Representative Corval, his tentacles moving in agitated patterns. Without their intervention, we would all be Zarathi slaves or worse. The humans deceived us, countered a Morvani delegate. They hid their true nature for almost a year. How can we trust them now? Admiral Hyewan stood to address the assembly. Her military bearing was unmistakable now that she no longer needed to hide it. With respect, the question isn't whether you can trust us. The question is whether you understand what we actually are. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. During our conflict with the Zarathi, we used approximately 12% of our available military assets. Everything you witnessed, the hidden fleet, the weapon platforms, the tactical coordination, represents a small fraction of humanity's actual capabilities. The aliens stared at the display in growing horror. If what they had seen was only 12%, what did the full extent of human military power look like? Our planet Earth, Dr. Sora continued, has a population of 8 billion humans. Every adult citizen receives basic military training. Our industrial capacity can produce warships at a rate that would overwhelm any conceivable enemy. We have weapons that we didn't deploy against the Zarathi because they were unnecessary. What kind of weapons? Elder Nyx asked, though her form suggested she didn't really want to know the answer. Planet killers, Admiral HFY replied simply. Star destroyers. Biological weapons that could eliminate entire species. Artificial intelligence systems designed specifically for warfare. Weapons that make nuclear bombs look like children's toys. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Several delegates had to excuse themselves to recover from the shock. Counselor Thrix finally found his voice. Why are you telling us this? Why reveal the extent of your capabilities? Ambassador Hyun-Ki stood slowly. Because we want you to understand the choice we made. When the Zarathi attacked, we could have stood aside and let them conquer you. We could have allied with them and divided the galaxy between our species. Instead, we chose to protect you. But why? Asked a delegate from the outer systems. What do you gain from protecting us? Peace, Hyun-Ki replied. Genuine peace. For the first time in human history, we've found a civilization that truly doesn't want to fight. Your species have created something beautiful, a galaxy where different races cooperate and trade instead of conquering each other. We want to preserve that. Dr. Sora activated another display. But we've also learned that peace requires protection. The Zarathi weren't the only aggressive species in the Outer Rim. Our intelligence networks have identified at least 7 other potential threats to Council space. The names and locations appeared on the holographic display. Species that the Council had never encountered, all with military capabilities that would have overwhelmed the peaceful worlds of the inner galaxy. They're watching, Admiral HFY explained. Word of the Zarathi defeat has spread throughout the Outer Rim. Some species are reconsidering their expansion plans. Others are making alliances to counter what they see as the human threat. So what happens now? Thrix asked. President Kim Soo appeared via hologram from Earth, her presence commanding immediate attention. Now we establish the new rules. Humanity will guarantee the security of Council space and all member species. In return, we ask for 2 things: honest cooperation in trade and research and absolute transparency in all Council dealings. No more deceptions? Elder Nyx asked. From either side, President Kim Soo confirmed. We've shown you our true nature. We expect the same honesty from all Council members. Captain Boram, now revealed as the commander of Earth's orbital defense network, provided the practical details. Human ships will patrol all major trade routes. Our monitoring stations will track potential threats before they reach Council space. Any species that attacks Council members will face the full response of human military forces. The aliens were still processing this information when Trade Commissioner Min Ho arrived with news that changed everything. Representatives from the hegemony of Tal, the Crimson Fleet, and the Void Hunters have all requested formal meetings, he announced. They want to discuss peace treaties with the Council. These were 3 of the most aggressive species in the Outer Rim, empires that had been expanding through conquest for centuries. The idea that they wanted peace talks was almost impossible to believe. What changed their minds? Representative Korval asked. Admiral HFY smiled grimly. We sent them recordings of the Zarathi battle, along with detailed specifications of the weapons we used, and a polite note explaining that this was us being gentle. The effectiveness of humanity's diplomatic approach was clear. Species that had never shown interest in peaceful coexistence were suddenly very eager to avoid conflict with the Council. Over the following weeks, the new galactic order took shape. Human patrol ships appeared throughout Council space, their crews professional and polite but obviously military. Trade flourished as species that had been afraid of piracy, and conquest felt safe to venture into previously dangerous areas. Captain Xiong Ho, no longer hiding his ship's true capabilities, established new trade routes into territories that had been hostile for centuries. His vessel, now openly displaying its weapons and defensive systems, was welcomed at ports that had once attacked Council traders on sight. "It's amazing what a little honest firepower can do for interspecies relations," he reported to Admiral. When the humans maintained their promise of transparency. When curious aliens asked about human military technology, they received honest answers. When Council members wanted to understand human tactical thinking, military advisors provided detailed explanations. Dr. Yejin opened her research to alien scientists, sharing both her biological studies and her military applications. "Knowledge should be shared," she explained to her shocked colleagues. "Understanding each other's capabilities prevents misunderstandings that could lead to conflict." But the most important change was psychological. The galaxy's aggressive species now understood that peaceful civilizations were not helpless. Behind the Council's diplomacy and trade networks stood a military force that could end any conflict, quickly and decisively. 6 months after the Zarathi defeat, Elder Nix met privately with Ambassador Hyun-Ki on the neutral station where humanity had first established trade relations. "I need to ask," she said, her energy form dim with uncertainty. "Are we your allies or are we your protectorate?" Hyun-Ki considered the question carefully. "That depends on you. We have the power to impose our will on the galaxy if we choose, but we prefer cooperation to domination. As long as the Council maintains its commitment to peaceful coexistence, humanity will treat you as equals. And if we don't, then you'll discover why every species in the galaxy should be grateful that humans prefer peace to conquest." As their conversation ended and the station's lights dimmed to simulate night, both leaders looked out at the stars. The galaxy was at peace, but it was a peace maintained by the most fearsome military force in known space. Humanity had achieved something unique in galactic history. They had become the apex predators of an entire civilization, while choosing to use that power to protect rather than destroy. The age of human guardianship had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the depths of space, monitoring stations tracked the movements of distant fleets and the whispered communications of species that still dreamed of conquest. But those dreams were growing quieter each day, as word spread throughout the universe about what happened to those who threatened the peace that humans had chosen to defend. The stars were safer now, watched over by a species that had turned the art of war into the science of protection.